What's up, guys? Welcome back to Newswave. So a little while ago, we heard about the PlayStation 5 DualSense controller's create button, but we didn't hear much else about what it's supposed to do. We assume it's going to be similar to that share button, of course, just maybe next-gen share button. However, through some pretty recent patent filings, we're starting to get a picture as to some of the next-generation features that we're going to get with that PlayStation 5 and that create button. We'll go over that and a patent for cloud gaming that seems to incorporate all of the older PlayStation systems. And we have to go over Nintendo actually talking about next generation, I guess, whatever is after the Switch, at the most recent shareholder meeting after they had to take a question about their plans going forward after the current Switch. As always, guys, if you enjoy these videos, make sure you hit the like button, helps out a ton. And if you're brand new here, hit the red subscribe button down below as we head towards 500,000 subscribers. And we're gonna start today with Paper Mario. We got the first review for the Origami King. It is out of Famitsu, and Famitsu is a little strange, all right? They're giving Sonic Forces like, what, a 35 or a 36 or something out there? Well, it looks like they did give Paper Mario 9s across the board, giving the game a total score of 36 out of 40. And for Famitsu, that's pretty good, I guess, although we just talked about Sonic Forces basically getting the same score. And this, believe it or not, ties the Origami King as the best rated Paper Mario game by Famitsu with, well, take a guess. Whatever you probably just said is wrong, that other game would be Sticker Star. Yeah, I don't know. Sure, okay, whatever you say, Famitsu. But Paper Mario is looking pretty good. We did get some gameplay that showed no experience, it seems, at the end of battles, and we're collecting coins. We'll see about all of that, about with like RPG elements and everything in the game, any kind of progression. We'll see when we get our hands on it, but at least from what we're seeing, it does appear to be very high quality, and they're trying some new things, of course, with the overall series. And hey, next week just needs to get here. Got Paper Mario and Ghosts on the same day, and I'm looking forward to it. Also, we do have another new game coming out this week, of course, and that is Deadly Premonition 2. Reviews did drop, and well, here's the Metacritic score for it. It did get a 56. That is Deadly Premonition 2, a blessing in disguise. Now, some people were saying that things like the plot and the story was fun and actually surprised them quite a bit, but there does seem to be one massive issue with the game that everyone seems to have pointed out and even laughed at online, and that is the performance. Like, the frame rate looks terrible. I mean, the game doesn't really look good anyway, but like the frame rate seems very, very off. Like at times we're going into like the teens or even maybe single, like it looks bad. Like you're like 8-9 frames in some instances, and the game even just stops outright. It's gonna be interesting to see Digital Foundry go over that one, and some people are wondering if that's intentional or not, because it appears that there are no plans for a patch to fix this game in terms of the frame rate. So keep that in mind if you go out and pick it up. It's not going to perform the greatest on your Switch. Oh, and we did get a release date for WWE 2K Battlegrounds that is coming out September 18th. You can also see a slide here that shows the different versions you can buy. They have the standard at $39.99, so this is not a full-priced game or anything. It is a $40 game. Appears to be obviously like an arcade spin-off of the WWE style, more simulation style games. And then they also have a digital deluxe version that includes 1,100 golden bucks. Now, they themselves say that is in-game currency, so they are already selling in-game currency. I don't know if it's going to get to the point where it does have microtransactions built in. We'll see. It's not a full price game, so maybe because they're already selling it as part of the digital deluxe version, although maybe they're just throwing it in the digital deluxe version to have some extra perk, like, oh, you can start the game up and immediately just start unlocking people, as they themselves say that that currency would be used to unlock different superstars, for example, in the game. Look, the game itself, to me, doesn't look anything crazy, right? Like, it's not going to be like Game of the Year or anything, but I think for what it is, it could be fun just to try it out and play it. $40 fun, we'll see. But you know what? I will pick that game up, and we'll talk about it here, and of course on the Spawncast, as well as I'm sure Sean will definitely be picking it up too. So we'll see how much fun they can make this. I mean, they have people jumping out of helicopters, and there's like crocodiles on the field and stuff that, okay, sure, we'll see what we get out of it. And guys, with some of the quick news out of the way, let's get into the bigger stuff. We're gonna start right away with the PlayStation 5 and some features that appear to be coming out here now with different patents that are being filed. Now, patents don't necessarily mean that Sony will actually use that specific idea or feature that they are describing. However, this is seeming more and more likely, and one even appears to be kind of an update, sort of, to what they're already using with PlayStation now. So if you are someone who is hoping for like native backwards compatibility with the PlayStation 5, that is becoming, to me, more and more unlikely at this point, which is weird to me because PlayStation 1, PlayStation 2, that should be pretty straightforward. Like, I don't think there would be any issue with that. In fact, the PlayStation 4 now can download PS2 games and just play them if you have PlayStation Now. You can try it yourself currently, but the one you, of course, cannot download and play is the PlayStation 3. That has been the hotly contested, we'll say, system if the PlayStation 5 can actually play it, and Sony can make that happen. But they did have a new patent that's come out here. You can see some of the images. It shows all the systems, which is kind of funny because they're not even drawn completely detailed, but you can make out what each one is there, of course. And it says a large number of game titles across PS1, PS2, PS3, and various generations of game consoles can be stored and used via the cloud gaming library. These games can be run on a virtual machine that mimics the operating system associated with each game console. So what this tells me, and I think most people, is that they'll probably be doubling down on PlayStation Now going forward when it comes to their retro library. Yeah, that might not sit well with everyone, but if you think about it this way, yeah, you'd be streaming it. However, it would probably follow you to the next system and the next system, but you would like to assume that just your overall purchases on the network would as well. This could also be, of course, Sony just setting things up for the future of PlayStation Now going forward, and maybe they have plans for backwards compatibility with the PlayStation 5 separate from this, but yeah, it seems like they're going to continue pushing forward with the streaming, at least for the PlayStation 1, 2, and 3. We'll see if they have any surprises in store for us going forward with the PlayStation 5. Now, as for that create button, which is something that people have been wondering exactly how much we'll be able to create overall with the PlayStation 5. Well, another part of the patent appears to point out that you would be able to cut out parts of the game and create mini games. Essentially, it's hard to kind of wrap your mind around here because think about it this way. You're playing through a game and you go through a really tough boss and you want to maybe have your friend check it out and maybe they can even practice and see what they think of it. You can apparently cut that part of the game out and share it. They even have you sharing it through the cloud, according to some of these patents, and that is kind of interesting, actually. I mean, yeah, you're creating, right? You're creating like a mini game and sending it around. I'd be curious how far that, like, is there like a certain amount of the game you can cut? Because then people will just start sending whole chunks of the game over and people can just complete it. Or maybe they'll already have kind of set points already figured out, whether it's like you want to cut this boss out and send it. Interesting stuff to think about there. And then, of course, they do mention tying streaming in with purchases that you would make where you can start the game up automatically. And then I guess over time it would download. Eventually you can just natively play the game. That all sounds good to me. It makes sense to cut down on the waiting time to actually play the game. But some interesting stuff here. And I'm really interested now more than I was before with that create button to see how they make all of this work together. Now, of course, like I said, patents don't necessarily mean that they're going to use it, but this does seem like a next-gen feature almost if you really start thinking about what we've been used to with streaming and demos, and have your friend be able to cut out a chunk of the game and send it to you to try out and see what you think of it is kind of neat. Next up, let's talk about Nintendo and next generation for the Switch. Shareholders, of course, are always wondering what's next. What's going to happen in the future here when it comes to the money I've invested? How are we looking to make more money? All of that, right? So naturally, they're going to ask Nintendo, what's next when it comes to the Switch, right? Well, we all figure games are coming, but they also want to know, what are we doing in terms of more systems that we can sell customers and then make more money? Well, this was a question that was asked of Nintendo by the shareholders, specifically to President Furukawa himself. This is what they said. Could you tell us about the outlook for your next game system? Game hardware has always displayed an image on a TV or other kind of screen while you do something, and I think that's where the limits for for this format are. With the hardware you're thinking about, go beyond these limits. And then Furukawa says, our current generation game system, Nintendo Switch, has entered its 4th year since launch, but its momentum is increasing. We believe there are 2 factors behind this. First is the existence of 2 hardware configurations with different characteristics in Nintendo Switch and Nintendo Switch Lite. The second factor is that Nintendo's development resources are concentrated on developing content for a single platform, Nintendo Switch. We want to extend the life cycle of Nintendo Switch while maximizing such advantages. And then we have Ko Shiota, who is the senior executive officer, saying, in addition to the performance aspects, higher technical specifications, Nintendo's dedicated video game platforms are developed with a focus on providing a comfortable environment for consumers to play fun software. From the perspective of playing with the image displayed on a TV, we believe that because consumers can play Nintendo Switch on a TV or the game console screen itself, it has greatly increased the opportunities for gameplay in various scenes in their life compared to previous consoles. Through Nintendo Switch, we've made many discoveries about where a dedicated video game platform can fit into a consumer's daily life. We see scenes on social media of children and their families sitting around a game console to play, which gives us a renewed sense of the value of our dedicated video game platform. We will utilize these experiences in carefully considering the form our future game consoles will take. So a few things to take away from the question and the answer. It does appear that Nintendo is going to be extending, at least from what they're saying here, the current Switch's lifespan maybe a little longer than people were thinking. This could end up being a 7 or even 8-year system. Now, they do stress, as they have before, family of systems, right? They mentioned that they have 2 different systems now that are capable of technically 2 form factors, kind of, or at least 2 different abilities. The Switch Lite, of course, even has the D-pad, but can't connect to TVs, where, of course, you have the regular Switch with Joy-Con attached and all this. So they do mention that. It makes you wonder if they have plans for anything different form factor-wise in the current family of systems. But going on, they do seem very much sold on the hybrid concept. Surprise, right? Yeah, that shouldn't shock anyone as how well it's done. But to say that it is continuing to build momentum really does show you that Nintendo is pretty much full speed ahead on the hybrid concept and this current Switch. I think there are a lot of people who are hoping that the current generation Switch would come to an end sooner and they can start on the next gen Switch. I kind of think Nintendo's going to ride this out as long as they can. Really. I mean, you might get to the point where the current Switch is on the market and then like there is like a quote unquote Switch Pro or something like that, right? A few years from now. And if you're happy with 540p on the current Switch, they'll keep selling it, right? I mean, how long they've been selling the 3DS for, the 2DS? We're just now talking about it silently going away, and that was playing, what, like 240p or something. So yeah, Nintendo's gonna keep this Switch going for a while now, I would say. But that's not bad news if you like your Switch now. They do also say, of course, all of their studios and developments are all working together. Seems a little strange now, considering we're only looking forward to one game, and that's Paper Mario, but it's been a weird year, and Nintendo is due to make some announcements, we'll say pretty soon, and then I think things will start falling into place, and we will have a pretty solid schedule going forward through 2021. Next up, let's talk a little bit about the Limited Run Games Showcase, because they announced a mess of games. I think it was like 30-something games all over the place, tons of physical copies to look forward to. Some they even just outright partnered with, which was really, really cool to see that. And a member of the Spawncast that you may recognize here is also in the news because he worked to get one of those games out to you. So interesting stuff here. Let's go through the list. We'll go through some of them. I'll put the whole list here though for you. Gamatsu managed to pretty much cover all of it. There are some big time standouts here though, and we'll go through a few of them here, which includes Bug Fables. Good to see that getting a physical copy, by the way. Star Wars Episode 1 Racer, Samurai Jack Battle Through Time, although I kind of already figured that was going to get a physical copy either way. Katana Zero, Towerfall Ascension, Demon Turf, To the Moon, Space Channel 5, which is, it's VR. It was very strange to see that one pop up as a physical copy, but that's pretty cool there. Grandia HD Collection, gonna grab that one immediately, that's big time. And then Curse of the Moon 2, of course, awesome to see that. Mighty Gunvolt Burst. And then the big one here, Castlevania Anniversary Collection. Wow, that was a bit surprising, but really cool to see that. Monkey Island Anthology Box Set, awesome, that's all on PC there. Papers, Please, Return of the Obra Dinn, Pixel Junk Eden 2, Garo, Mark of the Wolves, that's on the PlayStation 4, pretty cool there. Trover Saves the Universe, Super Meat Boy Forever, and then a ton of stuff from Way Forward, which includes A Boy and His Blob, The Mummy Demastered, Shantae, which that is an expensive game, and it's interesting to see them bring that out because it's going to be hitting the Game Boy Color and the Switch. That's right, it's gonna have a Game Boy Color reproduction cart that you can pick up, which is awesome. And then Shantae Risky's Revenge and Extreme Sports. And I told you we would have someone from the Spawncast here who helped to get one of these games out to you. Check this out. Tweet from MVG saying, finally excited to announce I'm working with Limited Run Games and way forward to bring Shantae to the Nintendo Switch. Yes, that's right. MVG pretty much did the whole thing there, got it out to you. That is really cool to see MVG getting to pretty much code a game and get it to the Switch, and of course, get it out physically all at the same time. Limited Run Games had a pretty good showcase here. I'm looking at a lot of stuff and trying to pick out what I'm gonna grab, and turns out the list ended up being pretty long for me, but awesome. Shantae that is an expensive cartridge, so to see it get released physically here, and then of course see all the stuff going to the Switch, a lot of stuff to like about Limited Run Games. Really, really cool. I even liked their presentation. It was supposed to be kind of this corny presentation, right? They even had like the 2D crowd. It was fun. So looking forward to a lot of stuff here, and congratulations to MVG on his, I guess we'll say his first overall release there with Limited Run Games. And in our last bit of news, let's go back to Metacritic here. We of course talked about it earlier with Deadly Premonition 2, but something keeps coming up with Metacritic. It ends up being a place where people will go and review bomb and then also throw 10s in to try to even it out. It ends up being for user scores, of course, at midnight or 2 a.m. whenever they unlock them when a game comes out. All of a sudden, you'll see 5,000 user reviews pop up for a game that is super polarizing, like we just saw Last of Us Part 2 as an example. But we also saw it with Astral Chain, Pokemon, all of these, right, where people will come in with 0s and 10s, and somehow they beat the game in like the first hour. Even if it's like a 20 or 30 hour game, they already beat it. They're willing to drop a 0 or a 10 on it. Well, Metacritic seems to be doing something here about that. I don't really know how much it's gonna help, to be honest, but you can check this image out here that was captured by Keen Gamer, where it says Metacritic's gonna be keeping those closed at least for the first day or so. They spotted this for a game, and it says, please spend some time playing the game, come back to review it starting July 8th. And I don't know, I guess they're thinking, oh, if all of these reviews don't come in immediately, it won't make our site look bad, it won't mess up the user score initially, and maybe they're thinking, oh, people will just move on and forget to come back. It kind of just, to me, just delays the review bombing. Like if people wanted to drop a 0 on it, they'll come back a day later or 2 days later or something and do it. I feel like it's to try to at least give some credibility to their user scores, and they kind of lost credibility with a lot of their user scores a while ago when people figured out they can just review bomb stuff and leave little messages in there, and then people come in with the 10s about how amazing the game is, even though it might not be a 10, but it's definitely not a 0. So you see what I mean? It ends up being just this big fanboy war essentially in these user scores, and that's not really what it was meant to be. It's supposed to help somebody, you know, make a decision when it comes to buying a game, and they want to see what regular gamers just think of it. And we'll finish up with the comment of the day, as you're seeing here. This is from Zombie saying, next year is also Metroid's 35th anniversary. Just saying, you know what, that's a good point. Maybe we could make like the next year or so just a big year of Metroid. That'd be cool, right? Like if we had like 16, 17 months and it's just all these releases for Metroid. Like, let's say beginning of this year coming up, we have like a 2D Metroid, and then like the third or maybe in fourth quarter, we have the Metroid Prime trilogy. And then to start out 2022, I'd say in the first quarter or so, I'll say first half, we get Metroid Prime 4. That would be awesome. That would be a good way to celebrate the 35th anniversary, right? And then you throw a system in, special edition system in for Metroid Prime 4 overall, right? So we go from like, I don't know, February to the following April, and it's 3 different Metroid releases with a special edition system. It sounds good, right? And ladies and gentlemen, that's gonna do it here for Newswave. Enjoyed this video, guys. Hit the like button, it really helps out. If not, hit the dislike. Leave comments down below about everything we talked about today, whether there's those PlayStation 5 patents and what appears to be some information around that create button that everyone seems to be wondering about right now, or of course, their cloud streaming for basically the entire back catalog for their different PlayStation 1, PlayStation 2, and PlayStation 3 games. Not sure about backwards compatibility for the PS5, but they certainly seem to be doubling down on using cloud streaming to make that happen. And then what do you think about Nintendo talking next gen? When do you think the next generation Switch will come out? Or do you think they'll do some sort of refresh to keep this current generation going for what could end up being 8 years? Thanks guys for watching, and I'll see you next time.